In the last video, we did some regular equation solving with whole numbers, and we did a problem with decimals. In this video, we're going to do another problem with decimals and then a couple of problems with fractions. Alright, so let's look at the first problem. 0.5 times some number I don't know plus 8.7 is equal to 12.35. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is I need to get all of my constants, my numbers without x's, on the same side. So I need to deal with this piece right here. Alright, and if you remember from the last video, I said I could take this number and just write it below it and write whatever inverse operation this is. So I have addition, inverse operation is subtraction. So 8.7 minus 8.7, that's 0, it cancels out, and I'm left with just 0.5x on this side. What I do to the left, I have to do to the right. See, that line's really kind of ugly. Let's draw a new one. Illustrator, there we go. To subtract 8.7. 0. And I can subtract decimals because I already remember all I have to do is, line up the dot. Remember, I line up the dot, give what I got, and I added an extra 0 just to be safe. So 5 minus 0 is 5. I borrow. 13 minus 7 is 6. Make sure I line up my dot. 11 minus 8 is 3. And I don't have any more there because I had to borrow the 1. And if I think about it, this is almost 9, and this is about a little over 3. So almost 9 and a little over 3 gives me a little over 12, which is what this is. So I subtracted correctly. So 0.5 times some number I don't know is equal to 3.65. We'll come down here, and now I have to remember my division rules. Okay. So remember we said when we're dividing by decimals, if I have to have all my decimals in this out of this outside number. Okay. So if I move the decimal one place to the right, one place to the right here, I have to move it one place to the right here. So now it's like I have 5 into 36.5. Alright, well 5 can't go to 3. 5 goes into 36 7 times. 7 times 5 is 35. Now I subtract. 36 minus 35 is 1. And I bring down my next number, which is 5. 5 goes into 15 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 minus 15 is 0, so I'm done. But I need to make sure that my decimal place walks up and lines up right above the house. So if I divide both of these by 0.5, there's my coefficient of 1. And I'm left with x divided by 0.5. I get 7.3. Alright, so now let's talk about fractions. I know when we see fractions we get kind of nervous, but if we remember our basic rules, we'll be okay. Alright, so again I'm going to start with this piece right here. Okay, I'm adding 2. Alright, so my equation is 1/4 times some number I don't know plus 2 equals 5. So I have to start by getting rid of the 2. So I have positive 2, so the inverse operation is subtraction. The number is the same, so this cancels out, and I'm left with 1/4 x on this side. Well, if I subtract 2 from the left, I have to subtract 2 from the right. 5 minus 2 is 3. So 1/4 times some number gives me 3. Alright, so now I need to divide by 1/4. So I'm going to divide by 1/4 here, and divide by 1/4 here, and I know it looks really, really weird because it looks like two fractions. We just need to remember that this means to divide. Okay, so 1/4 divided by 1/4 is going to give me that big coefficient of 1. Okay, and I have x. And then I just need to remember how to divide with the whole number and the fraction. So if I remember, I'm doing 3 divided by 1/4. And if I remember, any whole number I can put over 1 to give it a fraction. So 3 over 1 divided by 1/4. And division is where we do keep, change, flip. So I keep the first one, 3 over 1, change division to multiplication, and then I flip my second fraction. So instead of 1 over 4, it becomes 4 over 1. And then I just multiply across. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. 12 over 1 is 12. So my answer is 12. And I can double check that by saying, okay, 1/4 times 12 over 1. That's that. This goes with the 1/4 x. 1 times 12 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4. 12 over 4 gives me 3. And that's what I got. So that's what this piece is. 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So it matches. Let's look at another example. 2 times some number I don't know, minus 5/6 gives me 2/3. So the first thing I would do is I want to get rid of the 5/6. So I write 5/6 underneath, and I have subtraction in front of it, so I'm going to write addition so that cancels out and makes my 0 pairs. Okay. So I'm left with just 2a on this side. But since I added 5/6 on the left, I have to add 5/6 on the right. Alright, so let's think about this. So now I have to think about adding fractions. And if I remember, when I add fractions, they have to be cut in the same number of pieces. It's like pizzas. They have to be cut in the same number of pieces for me to add those pizzas together. So I have a 3 and a 6. Well, those are not the same number of pieces. But my common denominator could be 6. So 5/6 stays the same. I could do 3 times 2 to give me 6. So 2 times 2 gives me 4. So now I have 4/6. So now my denominator is the same. Now I can add 4/6 plus 5/6 is 9/6. And right now I'm going to leave it as an improper fraction because I know I still have another step. So 2 times some number gives me 9/6. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. When I divide this side by 2, I get my coefficient of 1. But now I need to divide 9/6 by 2. Alright, so 9/6 divided by 2 over 1. And if I do keep, change, flip, it keeps me 9/6 times, flip that 2 over 1, so now I get 1/2. 9 times 1 is 9. 6 times 2 is 12. 9/12. Well, I know that 3 can go into 9 and 12, so if I divide each of those by 3, 9 divided by 3 is 3, 12 divided by 3 is 4, so my answer is 3/4. Okay. I know that these equations seem really, really scary with the fractions, but if you just start with the first step, start with thinking about canceling out this piece right here and making those 0 pairs, it gets a lot easier and it gives you a first step. Alright, let's look at one last fraction problem. Alright, 3 halves times some number I don't know plus 1/5 gives me 3/4. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get all of my numbers on one side. So I'm going to get rid of this piece right here first. Okay, and like I said earlier, I can just write the same number underneath it and write whatever opposite operation I have. I have addition. My inverse operation is subtraction. So plus 1/5 minus 1/5 is going to make that totally cancel out. And that just leaves me with 3 half x on this side. But now I have to, if I subtracted 1/5 on the left, I have to subtract 1/5 on the right. Okay, I have 5 and 4, so I know my common denominator should be 20, because 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 5 gives me 20, so 3 times 5 gives me 15. 5 times 4 gives me 20, so 1 times 4 gives me 4. So now I have 15 20ths minus 4 20ths. Okay, and again I got 3/4. I multiply each of those by 5 to get 15 20ths. And 1/5 times 4 for both gave me 4 20ths. So now I can subtract them. 15 minus 4 is 11 20ths. So 3 halves times some number gives me 11 20ths. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 3 halves. 3 halves divided by 3 halves gives me that big coefficient of 1. Lovely, lovely. And I'm left with x. So now I'm left with, let's write this in another color so we can see it really well. Okay. Now I'm left with 11 20ths divided by 3 halves. Okay. Remember this top number is this first number right here. And the bottom number is this right here. And then I do keep, change, flip. Keep the first one, 11 20ths, change division to multiplication, and flip this one. So now it's 2/3, right? And this multiplies straight across. 11 times 2 is 22, 20 times 3 is 60, and they're both even, so I know I can divide both of them by 2. 22 divided by 2 is 11, 60 divided by 2 is 30, and 11 is prime, so I think we're all set. 11 30ths is our answer. Okay, so that's it for our problem solving with fractions and decimals and equations. I hope this has been really helpful, seeing me, hearing me talk about it, and being able to work at your own pace. If you have any questions, just raise your hand and let me know.